Hi, everyone. Yesterday, President Donald Trump announced tariffs on Canadian and Mexican goods that were going to go into effect today. We just saw the markets didn't really react well. The Canadian government and the Mexican government responded with their own tariffs, resulting in what could be billions and billions of dollars for against the United States. So I was thinking this morning, are there any halachic ramifications with regards to this? Of course, you hear now on the radio, buy Canadian. As a Canadian, does that mean I should halachically try to buy Canadian goods? And if you're an American and you're listening to this, and now, should you go and buy American goods to support your own economy? So I felt it was a great question. So I just want to maybe address some of these issues, the intersection between halacha, economics, national loyalty. So we'll break it down into the two sides of the debate, and then we'll address what maybe the consensus is in the halacha is. So on one side, you have the obligation to support the local economy. In our case, as a Canadian, for me, that would be Canada. So are there any sources to this? Well, we do know that there is a rule called Dina de Machuta Dina, which is a principle found in the Talmud that basically means the law of the land is the law. If the government encourages or requires buying locally, either through policy or through tariffs, some argue that this might create a halachic obligation to comply, that I got to go and I got to buy Canadian. Now, they're not forcing us to buy Canadian, but they're recommending it strongly. But Dina de Machuta Dina, there's this idea that is raised that maybe I need to go and buy Canadian. There's also the concept of hakarat tov, which is not a halachic concept. It's just a good deed, a good midah, recognizing the good. Many poskim stress the importance of gratitude to your host country, Canada in this case. In fact, we have to express gratitude even when we're visiting countries, to go dine in their restaurants and stay in their hotels and spend money because they are hosting you. And particularly if you live in a country that treats Jews fairly, such as Canada and the United States, then supporting the local economy could be seen as a form of expressing gratitude. And the third idea with regards to the obligation of maybe supporting the local economy would be tzedakah begins here at home. And some poskim hold that and expand this obligation of tzedakah to include supporting local businesses. Of course, when we were struggling during COVID times, we did our best to go around and make sure that the local businesses were kept afloat. So this ensures that the local economic stability abroad is maintained through buying from our own rather than purchasing cheaper products abroad. Let's look at the other side. The other side would be, no, I have freedom of choice and I can purchase anything I want from any country. So looking at that side, there's actually strong halachic arguments as well for a person to buy whatever he wants from wherever he wants. There is open market competition. Halacha generally allows free trade and competition, as mentioned, and many stories brought down in the Talmud. If you're importing from the U.S. or elsewhere, and that benefits the consumer, then there's no halachic obligation to buy Canadian. We also have the idea of lo tikpotz et yadecha, do not close your hand. There's a value of supporting Jews globally. So if there are Jewish businesses elsewhere, like in the United States or in Israel, that offer products for sale, some would argue that supporting Jewish businesses, even internationally, outside of Canada, in and of itself, is a halachic value. And finally, halacha doesn't usually bind Jews to political disputes. The fact that we have tariffs between our countries does not bind us to forcefully actually buy Canadian products unless the dispute touches upon our own survival or our own safety or religious observance. In that situation, then things might change. So the general halachic consensus would be that most poskim don't establish a clear-cut halachic obligation to buy local in this sense. However, there is a strong ethic, which we call midat chasidut, to support local businesses. Kol Yisrael aravim ze bazeh. All Jews are responsible for one another. If the local businesses happen to be Canadian and they're selling Canadian products, then supporting them could be seen as a double value, helping your fellow Jew and also supporting the country that you live in. But at the same time, halacha does not prohibit buying from non-local sources if the price or the quality is better. And that's why the mainstream halachic approach is to balance economic self-interest with communal responsibility. Support your local businesses when reasonable, but there's no absolute prohibition or obligation when it comes to buying internationally. I hope this helps, and I hope that everyone decides wisely where they buy, what they buy, and Bezrat Hashem, we will see lots of blessing and goodness and success from all of our purchases and all of our interactions with people here at home and people abroad. Be well.